Well, welcome to today's Lunch and Learn. It's on WorkFace Planning, de-risking and enhancing projects outcomes. And we have a great speaker today. His name's Bob Dresser. He's with Strategic Executive Consulting. And without further ado, we'll get started. Bob?
All right, thanks, Seth. So thanks everyone for taking your personal time at lunch to join us. It's awesome. Hopefully, I always say that if I can get one thing out of these things, it is well worth it. So hopefully I can help you or help everyone get at least one thing out of the next, I don't know, half hour, whatever it's going to be. And that's my intention. If you get more than one, yay, that's awesome. So once again, this is part of KCA, John O'Brien, along with Atlas Marketing, and we've been putting on a podcast called Better Project Outcomes. And we've done, I think, 5 programs over the last year and a half or so. And this is kind of a spin-off of that, that I thought that it's been providing a lot of value to a lot of construction companies in a lot of different places and a lot of different industries. So I thought I'd share the highlights of this WorkFace Planning program with you all to describe where it came from, what the history of it is. What is WorkFace Planning? What does this mean? What does it comprise of? And what are the values that it can bring to all of us and to our projects? It also applies if you're an owner, an engineer, architect, or a constructor. But let me first start by letting you know who Bob Dresser is. I don't know how many of you know me or know of me. I do live in Mechanicsburg, and really enjoy living here and working here. I am married to Linda. We have 6 children, 11 grandkids, and you can tell where the 11 grandkids come because I've been in industrial construction for over 40 years throughout the Americas. That's North and South America, extensively through Canada and the United States, building things, Brazil and Chile, and spent some time over in Europe and Scandinavia, mainly in the pulp and paper industry back in those days. I started as a laborer in a fabrication shop in upstate New York, and made it into the C-suite many years later, but worked throughout field projects, module assembly yards, and ran projects of varying sizes, up to 3,500 people on a nuclear power project and an LNG facility. And even right now, I'm working some projects that have 4 people on them. So I've seen a lot and had a lot of fun in this industry. My MO as far as work goes, it's about people. And people is the secret sauce. I was typing, I couldn't decide whether it's people are the secret sauce or people is the secret sauce. I ended up with is. I don't know what the proper English is, but Seth, maybe you can help me with that. But anyway, it's all about morale. If you have people that are really happy and engaged, eager to get to work in the morning, will stay and until their job is done in excellent fashion. At the end of the day, you're winning, and you need to reward and recognize those people. Anyway, I am currently the owner of Strategic Executive Consulting. We basically have two focus areas. One is we are construction advisors. We work with construction companies and projects owners, engineers, to have their projects and or their construction company, depends who it is, do things better and implement perhaps best practices, and or even if we need to implement or bring in some new stuff that's the construction companies feel they'd better themselves with, we'll do that. We're also expert witnesses in arbitration or litigation cases. I've been pretty busy on that front lately. Prefer to do the construction advisory work. It's a lot more fun when people are successful than it is to see people quarrel in court and spend all sorts of money unnecessarily. So, but just to explain a little bit more of what we do in the last year or two, some of the highlights of our business is we we're wrapping up a construction company reorganization, putting a new foundation structurally with process and procedures and some new ways of doing things that is more sustainable and more profitable, which they're already seeing benefits from. That company is in South Central Pennsylvania, about 20 minutes from my house, which is nice for me. We're also helping start up a new mechanical contractor in Houston. We put in a new change management program with an electrical contractor outside of Philadelphia. And another thing we've done recently is we put together a claim. This is kind of interesting. It was about a year ago. We put together a claim. It was over $20 million in a gold mine project. The contractor was out of Australia, and the job was in Ontario, and we're in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. So that was pretty cool. And what we did there is we actually had the owner and the contractor work together in assembling the claim. So when it was all put together, voila, everyone agreed to it. So it went really well. Relationships were outstanding when it was all done. And then we put together in a claims management system for the project so that they wouldn't get into that situation again. So that's just a sampling of what we do. Oops. So what is this WorkFace planning thing? And I'm guessing I don't know who y'all work with, but I'm guessing you're a sampling of perhaps an owner or someone, a developer or an engineer, architect, or a contractor. But I'm guessing no matter who you're with, you've asked yourselves, your company's asked themselves some of these questions. Some of my favorite ones are we performing consistently? Do we have predictable results? So when we're doing an estimate, we get awarded a job. Are we really celebrating because we know we're going to do a really good job on it? We're really confident. Or do we sit there going, did we miss something? Or, things like that. Are we having fun? And I mean that. Or are we kind of stressed out? Do we feel we're the best in class? Do we feel that we can not add contingencies in our estimates so that we can add maybe some more margin in our work? Do we win the work that we feel we need or really want to win the jobs we're going after because we're that confident in how well we perform? Our stakeholders, our board of directors, do they rely on our results and what our forecasts are? Things like that. But the biggest one is, are we having fun? And that in itself will answer the rest of the questions, most likely. Any questions so far? All right, let me try to lead you to trying to answer some of those or help enhance the potential of being really good at some of those questions or topics. So there's two main components of WorkFace planning. One is what we call mobilization readiness. Do we have everything we need to be productive on day one and for a sustainable future of a construction project? Do we have all the design criteria? Do we have all the safety plans? Do we have all the quality plans and the ITPs? Do we have all our materials? Are they bagged and tagged? We'll get into that a little bit later. And then the second part is installation work packages. And we'll explain what those are. First, a little history. Why is WorkFace planning here? Got to try not to read, so I'm sorry if I bore you with that. But back in the 80s and 90s, so at that point in time, I was roaming around northern tier of the United States and parts of Western Canada, building and maintaining or fixing pulp and paper mills. And back in those days, we had some really cool 50 to 60-year-old general foremen and superintendents and whatnot that just knew what they were doing. They had things planned out ahead so far in their brains, and the only thing they really carried around with them was a little spiral bound notepad that would fit in their shirt pocket, and they would have those all pocket protectors so that when pens leaked, that they didn't put ink all over their shirts. So you can compare those little notepads in your shirt pocket to your tablets right now. But that's what they had, and they were really, really good in making sure all the materials were pre-staged and in the WorkFace prior to the crews needing them. They were really good at backfilling scopes and tasks and activities to labor back then. They were just good at it. They were very mechanically inclined. They were great at using their hands. They did not grow up working with computers and whatnot. They grew up turning wrenches and screwdrivers or welding or things like that. So it was just instinctive to them to know how to build. It's not quite so instinctive now. And then in the back in the or after subsequent to that, these people started retiring. There was a huge amount of attrition. Sound familiar? There was a huge labor shortage back in the late 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, just 20, 30 years ago, roughly a generation ago. These things do cycle. So it was really interesting. So the industry took it upon themselves to, in kind, mainly led by Construction Industry Institute out of University of Texas at Austin, really took the charge in the industrial sector to develop what they call, what turned into being WorkFace Planning, and take that instinctive, intuitive brain power of that skill set and that generation and really put it on paper and really plan formally our projects. So what they did is what goes on the paper is everything, all engineering, all materials, all consumables, all safety materials, anything like that, any kind of equipment, anything it's going to take for, say, an average of a crew for a week, a foreman and their crew for a week, say that much scope of work, put that in a work package, and we call that an installation work package. So CII and CURT, Construction Users Roundtable, basically got together and they put a lot of horsepower around this program. So CII Research Team 272 was put together, a bunch of university research professionals and also construction folks made up of like general foremen and superintendents and tradespeople and project managers and project controllers. Anyway, they all got together and over time put together WorkFace Planning and advanced work packaging, which is just WorkFace Planning on steroids. I won't get into that. Anyway, they did a whole bunch of work for about 10 years, and they ended up doing a whole bunch of studies to see what the value was. Was this really worthwhile? And should we really commercialize this program? And here's what they found out. Up to 25% increase of field productivity. That's off the charts. When I implement WorkFace Planning with a company, which I'm just wrapping one up right now, we shoot for 10%. I like to be humble and make sure we achieve what we set out to do. 25%, I've seen it happen, but it's a bit of a reach. I will say that the 10% decreasing the owner's total install costs, whether it's a hospital, whether it's a add-on to a refinery, an upgrade, whether it's industrial or whether it's a semiconductor chip plant, 10% TIC total savings is definitely achievable. Definitely improve schedule performance. So with money is time, definitely. And we'll show you a little bit more on that in a bit. You're much more predictable, much more consistent. There's a lot less lost time, and people are much more confident and ready to work every day. They do not have excuses. You're not sitting around waiting for materials and things like that. You just go. So your utilization of resources is much improved. Change management is much more predictable, and also safety and quality performance. You're just ready. Everything is ready. We'll demonstrate that here. So the first thing we mentioned was the mobilization readiness gate. And mobilization readiness, what that is a program to make sure that before anyone mobilizes to a project, so it's not just the first contractor, but it's all contractors. And depending on the project, you can have one contractor build something, or you might have multiple contractors build something. But in this program, all contractors have to pass a mobilization readiness gate, which is signed off, and it is contractual. Okay, so they sign up to this, so they have to estimate to put resources in to do this kind of stuff. Let me see if this works here. It's supposed to work. There we go. Come on, you can do it. All right, so what a mobilization readiness gate is so as engineering is progressing, and hopefully we engage contractors early, whether it's in constructability, safety and design, any of those types of things. But what we like to do is get at least a construction representative or more involved during design. And here we start doing HSE, health and safety plans, quality plans. We put together schedules at different levels, and whether it's level 3 or hopefully get into level 4 type scheduling, project controls, all sorts of stuff. So we start preparing the contractor before they mobilize. And of course, all this stuff is fit for purpose. Not every project needs all this stuff that you see on this spreadsheet. You make it fit for purpose depending on the project and depending on the contractors. So all these tools or all these functions and how ready they are to mobilize is measured as we lead up to mobilization. And if the reason we measure them and score them is if someone's lagging and needs some help, we jump in and help them. We don't measure them to find fault. We measure them to enable them. So hopefully that all makes sense. Any questions with mobilization readiness? Okay, you can always ask stuff later. The second part is the installation work packages, and I'll show you a couple of those. So this is where I talked about the foreman and their crew for a week or so, right? These documents will have everything they need, and the packages will have everything they need to do their work. These packages are also checked and signed off before they go to work, and we review them with the foreman so that they are totally prepared. So you can review them a week ahead of time so that when the time comes, they're ready to go. They are truly ready to go. We make sure that any materials are bagged and tagged, pre-staged, and we just make sure that everything is sitting there waiting for the labor. The worst thing that can happen, and it happens all the time, is that labor sitting there waiting for the other stuff. Drawings, not IFC, specifications, not signed off and approved. And all that stuff, just the wrong materials, with the supply chain issues over the last year and a half, waiting on materials has been just a real thorn. And, it's a thorn in the side, not just of the contractor, but, it impacts everybody, all shareholders, all stakeholders, and the client ultimately suffers as well. So this whole program is designed to eliminate or mitigate those things. By the way, the mobilization readiness, I'm going to go backwards here a little bit, is also a tool that we use. So sometimes we have pressures as contractors to mobilize to a site because the schedule says so. And the owner's representative, sometimes the engineer or the architect, or sometimes the owner themselves saying, you got to mobilize. Your schedule says you got to mobilize. Well, I am a proponent of, if we're not ready to mobilize, number one, shame on us, we should have been ready, but it might not have been our doing either. It could be materials, it could be engineering or whatnot. But if we're not ready to mobilize, why would anyone mobilize if we're not ready? Just to demoralize people while they're standing around doing nothing, just to waste money and have lost time. So I'm a big proponent of providing discipline to that mobilization gate, no matter what the schedule says. Now, of course, you do everything you can to meet the schedule. I'm not saying that, but if you're not ready, don't go waste time and money and demoralize your labor. Anyway, enough of that. Installation work packages. So there's many examples of where it can be applicable. I worked in a modular yard for a number of years, running a modular yard. We had about 600 people building modules. And so there's module installation work packages. There's just regular installation work packages. That's what I've been talking about, as the foreman or a supervisor and their crew for a week. Fab shops use installation work packages all the time, with spool drawings and ISOs. And even electrical assembly shops use installation work packages to their benefit. It's very controlled environment. It's very effective. I'm going to show you two different examples of work packages. This first one is for setting equipment. And these are in two different formats. And I think each company I've worked with has come up with their own format. So the format is not sensitive. I really don't care what it looks like, as long as it does the job and is effective of making sure that we're ready to go to work and hit it hard and be productive right from day one and maintain that productive level. But this just goes through a whole checklist of, what type of equipment is it? What kind of cranes do you need to set any or any lifting devices? You guys can all see what this stuff is. What kind of rigging equipment do you need? Do we need any special training? Is there any, high or sensitive alignment requirements? Are there any hazards in the area? That's on every form. It should be, especially if you're in a working facility environment. Do we need third-party inspection? What kind of scaffolding requirements are there, or man lifts? And then what are the drawings that we need to properly install things, and are they IFC, things like that. And then we actually sign off on each package. So it's not overly complex. It's fairly simple. Where am I here? Just wondering if I froze up here a little bit. Sorry, everybody. There we go. And here's another one. This happens to be electrical. The one big deal I should mention to you guys are the people that are preparing this. Find it really fun and effective if you can get sort of like a well-seasoned general foreman or superintendent, get the guy or an individual that's getting ready to perhaps retire, and they really don't want to be out in the field anymore, but they have a wealth of knowledge, and combine them with someone that is real handy with a computer and really wants to learn the business and really advance their career. So I know we're not supposed to talk about ages or whatnot, but if you can have someone that is experienced combined with someone that wants to be experienced, let me put it that way, it's a really good team to lead your WorkFace planning team. With that being said, that team would not know everything about everything. So it is a very fun, if you like to be collaborative and have fun working with lots of different people and going to job sites and talking with other trades specialists or whatnot and estimators, and it's a real collaborative thing to put these packages together. So that's another thing. So you can have a lot of fun doing this stuff. So this is another way to do it. So the first one we looked at was more of a checklist. This is more of a narrative. Brief scope of work. What is the actual deliverable? So during this week, this is probably more than a week, but 800 meters of cable tray. Can tell this was done in 2006. So this is not new stuff. We got some welding to do, the electrical crew, cable tray. This looks like it might have been a Canadian job because everything is in metric. Maybe not. Then what's the list of materials we need? Now, just because we list out things on a piece of paper, what we do to make sure we're ready and to sign off on all this stuff, we go out in the field or into the storeroom or wherever you want to call it at site and make sure we can actually touch and feel all this stuff before we say the package is complete and ready to go. Kind of labor does that job need for the week? Where are the work instructions, the drawings? Okay, so this becomes a package. So these two pieces of paper really go on top of the package. Inside the package, and if it's electronic, you guys, it's very easy to, it's in a folder set of system. But, all these drawings will be part of the package. So the foreman has one package to go into and all this stuff is there. Yeah, you guys can see all this stuff. Any questions right now? All right. So we're about to wrap up. What's in it? What's in it for everybody? What are the benefits? Because it does cost money. You have to spend some money on the front end to prepare these packages. So ultimately, the project pays for the people, right? Whether it's the contractor putting it into their price or whether it's the owner just supporting it on the front end, even though there might not even be a contractor in place that early in the project. The earlier in the project phases we do this, the better it is, okay? So for the owner will reduce total installed cost. I'll put my name on that. They will reduce rework. They will have more certainty. Their shareholders will benefit from WorkFace planning and mobilization readiness. They'll be able to work different commercial models in negotiating with different firms with confidence. And the people they're negotiating with will also have confidence because of this program. It'll be much more collaborative and much more professional or business-like than some atmospheres can get. Your startup and commissioning curves will be much quicker or much steeper, which is good. Be able to so you plan construction around those activities. Commissioning and startup is built in to the ultimate plans. And the overall confidence in the C-suite should be much higher when projects are performed excellently and sustainably and with consistency. Engineering and procurement activities really thrive in this area. This stuff goes great with modeling. Engineering modeling of different sorts, 3D, 4D, all sorts of D, but pulling out or putting these packages together, say piping assemblies, equipment assemblies, structural steel, and putting work packages into the design and planning during design, and the visuals you get with the modeling and work packaging is just awesome. So we encourage the engineering firms that are involved in these projects to really embrace it and encourage it, and encourage some construction expertise to come into your office, whether you have it in-house, which is great, or if you bring it in through the owner, leveraging some good relationships with contractors. That's, in my humble opinion, it's even better. So, and then for the construction companies, huge risk mitigation. The proverbial standing around waiting for stuff. and stuff means a lot of different things, but huge risk mitigation. People, construction workers, you typically want to be busy. They want to put in a good day's work, and that's what makes them happy. And this will really help that. Also, if your crews are busy, you don't have significant lost time or any lost time, I would strive for. You are going to be productive. You are going to be profitable. You are going to make your clients delighted. You're also going to make your suppliers and your subcontractors delighted as well. So you end up having a very loyal project team that's sustainable from project to project to project, repeat clients, you'll get the best labor, you'll get the best supervision, the best suppliers will want to work with you and give you their best stuff. And the last thing there is the ultimate goal is to reduce the lag between engineering and construction. And of course, there's procurement and a whole bunch of stuff in the middle there. But if we can squeeze, say, if you had typically a 10-month lag between engineering and the start of construction, and we can reduce that to 8 months or 7 months or 6 months because of programs like this with confidence, that's a home run. And getting whatever you're building up and running quicker, that's the real payback. Some other benefits here. This is the last slide, I believe. Other benefits you guys can read. You're going to realize really high retention rates. People are going to want to work for you. Reduce field indirect costs. Your supervision is going to be the scope of work for all the foremen is going to be laid out really cleanly. So you're going to need, should have less or higher ratios. So maybe instead of 1:8 or 1:7, 1:9, you'll be able to go to like 1:12 or so as far as your foreman ratios. Just because everything's laid out and it's all in black and white or on a tablet or whatnot, and people know what to do. It's very well organized. And project controls. So being able to forecast, know your physical percent complete and all that kind of stuff for your forecasting as you go forward, be much more accurate. You'll have a lot higher confidence in what you're doing with this stuff. Oh, there was more. Sorry. These are proofs. These are what some clients are saying about this. I'll try to go quick. First of all, and this is with both of them, they make WorkFace Planning and the mobilization gate both contractual. Okay, don't surprise people with, oh, by the way, we're going to do this. Let them know in advance, pre-tender and all that kind of stuff, and give them the education of what this stuff's all about. It's really not that complicated. It's just a matter of providing some discipline and some process and procedure. So this client has adopted WorkFace Planning as a key project execution strategy. And they're using it both in the modular yard and in the site. I'm just trying to point out highlights here. The ISCU, that's the commissioning startup group, is an integral part of WorkFace Planning. They get all aligned on the systems construction versus area construction early in design phases of the project. So clients that engage those type of people, including their maintenance people, by the way, into this process early on really benefit. And some clients are insisting that this take place. The last paragraph there, construction work packages will be approved and signed off by the construction director. And contractors will only be released for construction only when they're 100% final and not subject to change. That means all the drawings are IFC and all the materials are per spec and received properly. The next one is from another client where they, now this is a fairly long-term project. a fairly substantial size project. They're ready for, so it's both module and site again. Here, they insisted on 120 days backlog of packages, 100% complete, so that the contractors would show up on site. They would be guaranteed 120 days of consistent, straight through work for their crews without interruption. They'd have all that stuff. Now, once again, fit for purpose. Not every job can sustain that. Never a job will have that amount of storage capacity and things like that. So that all needs to be designed uniquely and specifically for each project, those type of durations. The basic message with this client was mobilize when you're ready to produce, not just because the schedule says so. And I put discussion there. That was my own doing, and we already had that discussion. They also build in specific packaging milestones into the schedule. And rules of engagement into their process and procedures and construction execution plans and things like that. That's it. Yeah, let's have some conversation and questions.
Well, thank you, Bob. If there's not any questions, on behalf of the KCA Education Committee, we thank you for sharing your expertise and knowledge on WorkFace planning. And if people want to review this webinar, it will be on our website at keystonecontractors.com.